All right, everyone, it's time to talk about the Kanye West Twitter thing because I think the larger scope of the discussion moved very quickly from, hey, Kanye is talking about Trump and Trump is retweeting him, which sort of temporarily broke Twitter. It went from that to, hey, Kanye West just lost like 10 million Twitter followers, and Twitter is coming out saying that never happened. That is, in fact, a lie. There are screenshots, and I can tell you as well. I was looking at the account. It did indeed lose millions of followers in the scope of about an hour. Twitter is therefore technically lying. They do know, they're well aware of the fact that the count declined. It then went back up, which is probably some organic growth as a bunch of people who never really thought to follow him on Twitter because, probably the Trump fans, maybe not the main demographic of Kanye's, the sort of people that listen to his music. They're just adding him because now they think they like his political message. Now, excellent marketing move by Kanye. I don't think that this, by the way, is particularly authentic beyond he happens to be like an entertainer. Trump is of that same general caliber. Yeah, I imagine they probably would get along if they're in a good situation where they get along with each other to whatever limited extent, and so be it. But I don't think it was necessarily that so much as a marketing strategy, and it worked. But here's what I think happened. Twitter is technically lying, but it's also technically telling the truth. That is, that it is entirely within the realm of reason to believe that those 10 million accounts were bots. It's totally within the realm of reason on Twitter. A significant proportion of all users on Twitter aren't real people. Significant. It's worse than Facebook. It's the most botted site you can think of. However, within that total, there are probably people who are real users who simply got marked as such. Twitter has had continuous problems with this. Number two, those then joining him, some millions of people bringing him up almost to the same total he was at by this morning, are presumably more generally actual human beings. In a way, he actually just strengthened his account significantly. Specifically because of the fallout from this. You've got a bunch of politically minded, like MAGA fans who are into meme magic and libertarians that tend to be loud and in your face about everything that they hold dear online, joining him in place of millions of potential bots. That being said, again, I'm not saying that it isn't a selective application of their purging algorithms. Of course it is. There's a reason why there's a reason why Kanye West lost all the bot accounts specifically at this time. It's to prevent those accounts from retweeting, from liking things. Twitter is labeling it bot activity, and this is a problem. If something that you do goes completely viral on Twitter, Twitter is notified of that very quickly. I guess presses a button and says, okay, look through these accounts, and then they're selectively unfollowed based on their other patterns of behavior. Sometimes that means that a person will get unfollowed from somebody without actually being a bot. This has been a problem with my channel. I release material, it gets tens of thousands of views. YouTube apparently routinely conducts, therefore, little miniaturized purges of people who are subscribed to me. Again, based on their other patterns of behavior, they're simply unsubscribed from my material. How they specifically arrive at the conclusion of what is or is not a bot, nobody knows. It's not open source exactly. It's a real problem. And it also looks bad. Look, it looks conspiratorial, and these big tech firms should lay off doing it. If Kanye West, someone, verified user, legitimate individual, kind of who he is and stuff, is going viral because he's talking about Trump, and all of a sudden Twitter wants to kick in algorithms, maybe they should think about not doing so. Because by doing so, it just looks like they're purging real users. Now, most of them probably weren't. The algorithm is probably at least 80% effective, leaving, of course, a couple million real individuals. But doing that looks political, and it kind of is. I'm sure that it was selective. They wouldn't do that to Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton goes viral. You think that they're going to purge 10 million people from her following her account? Which would be, I think, most of the users there. Yeah, bullshit. I don't think that it'll happen. But if something that I tweeted did, yeah, I'd probably lose a bunch of followers. Other people, you don't even have to have millions or tens of millions of fans on Twitter. Now, you can have a few thousand or tens of thousands and have the same effect. Something that you do triggers an algorithm somewhere in the Twitter sphere, and all of a sudden half your followers go bye-bye, and you get people saying, oh, I was unfollowed from you randomly. Obviously, that individual's not a bot. So I guess Twitter decided it was a danger to the Western world for Kanye to have all of these accounts repeating everything that he said because it was pro-Trump, and so they decided to selectively apply an algorithm that otherwise isn't itself maybe so problematic, but situationally it just looks totally bad. And now they have to be in the news, and why are they in the news? They're not in the news because Kanye and Trump are talking on Twitter. They're in the news because Twitter looks like it purged 10 million people. So that's why that's not good for Twitter. Twitter has had a habit of making these sort of public image mistakes. And it really drags on the company. There's a reason that their stock keeps having so many falters and sputters and other problems. There's a reason why Twitter, unlike like a YouTube or Amazon, some of the other big tech sites, Twitter is more like Facebook at this point. It's stronger than Facebook. It's also more fun than Facebook, but it's got similar problems, and it's not getting better. For most of the big tech firms, their problems are getting worse. For a site like Twitter, it's only a matter of time before, if they continue with that general behavior, they alienate too many of their users and they go off to other things. Of course, I use Gab. Now, there's never a problem on Gab with people having the followers that are following them purged for botting. There's never such a problem. On Minds, I've never heard of a bunch of people being purged off of Minds for that. I've never heard of BitChute's never adjusted subscribers. There's no need to, number one. These sites are smaller and more easily managed, therefore. Number two, there's generally more of a sense of, hey, maybe this is a bad idea. I think that if we set ourselves up as a free speech style network of some form or another, and then we begin purging people, we'd better have, number one, a very good explanation. Number two, be very transparent about it. Not be like Twitter, in other words. Saying, oh no, he didn't lose 10 million followers. Well, yes, he did. You could just come out and explain that most of them are bots, but you're not really doing that. You're just saying, oh, what Twitter follower loss? So an algorithm kicked in. Apparently, you don't want to own up to the fact that it's real, and I think part of it is these big tech firms. And on this element, they're almost blameless. Part of it is that they've experienced so many problems with their user bases attacking them after something like that happens, that I think that they've decided they don't even want to address it and own up to what they're doing. I think that's a bad response, and they've made their own bed. They're laying in it specifically because over the past they have abused people on their platforms. If they had just never done that, this wouldn't be a problem. If such a purge did occur, they'd say, hey, we're not doing it for political reasons. It's, our algorithm got triggered. There were millions of people replying to a handful of posts. It kicked in. It decided that a bunch of those people were bots, and the anti-bot system kicked in. Maybe then they apologize and say, well, yeah, of course, yes, it's not 100% accurate or something. It just looks bad for Twitter to be engaging, though, in such behavior. I don't think it's a good idea. I think big tech largely should take a hands-off approach, or do what YouTube does. YouTube used to have like one day a year in which your subscriber count would collapse magically, and everyone thought that this was censorship, and it's not. It was the removal of dead accounts, accounts that have been closed, getting them purged off the sublists. Accounts that had been banned, they didn't close it, they got suspended for one reason or another. Accounts that were completely inactive and were being scrubbed over time from the site because, this account, nobody's logged in 7 years. I think it's probably dormant detritus. Let's remove it. And so once a year you'd have this happen, or twice a year, and it was usually, for someone like me, I was at tens of thousands of subs at the time. All of a sudden you'd lose 500-600 subscribers in a single day. It's like, what the fuck did I do wrong to deserve this? But it was never censorship. It just appeared that way. YouTube very wisely decided instead now it does that on a sort of rolling basis, I think every week or so. It's a much smaller number. Nobody notices it and mostly don't care. Because it was never about censorship, but it always looked that way. It was like when view counts on a video would freeze, people said, oh, your video is being suppressed. No, it simply did that to any video that was getting a lot of views in a short period of time after upload, part of their anti-botting measures. They've mostly eliminated that, it seems now. Now within 10 minutes, the view count goes to live. It's actually much faster than it used to be. Much less concerning for people. But they used to think it was a form of censorship. But again, perception over reality for some of these things. We have to understand. When we're talking about marketing, the perception of the audience is all that matters. It doesn't matter if you're abusing people. It only matters if you're perceived as abusing people. I look at this and I say it's mainly an element of stupidity. The way that they decided to allow that algorithm to kick in on a hot political issue involving the President of the United States, and so in a rocky political climate, when big tech is already sort of tiptoeing around trying to avoid the minefield, which is public opinion and lapses in judgment with regards to PR, Twitter decided to just kick one of those landmines like a football. And now it's saying, well, it's doubling down and saying, no, it never even happened. I don't think that flies with a lot of people. That's about all. Peace out.